What is up, ladies? What's up, gentlemen? Hey, man, y'all get y'all snaps because we is about this gonna be a good reaction. Hey, man, look what I got. Got this from. Hey, man, all y'all real niggas know. Make sure that y'all put this in the refrigerator. Eat it later. Wait, let me try to get like a handful because I don't want to keep crumbling it while we watching. You know. Hold on.
If you're like me, you were a dumb baby in the year 2000. I was born in 1998, so I'm an elderly Gen Z. I have no standing in the Gen Z millennial war. I barely relate to either generation. I do, however, have a standing in the media landscape of the 2000s, because that's the media that raised me. Throughout the decade, this dumb little baby fell in love with the art of filmmaking. I look back at the years 2000 to 2009 with a fondness for their strangeness. If we've learned anything from the past couple of years, it's that time is a meaningless flat circle. And so the designation of decade is somewhat arbitrary. In terms of style and subject matter trends, the 2000s is not noticeably different from the year 1999 or 1998 and so on. The evolution of trends is gradual. Nonetheless, looking back at a chunk of 10 years is a pretty useful way to determine certain cultural trends. But I'm not a fashion queen, so this video isn't concerned with cargo shorts and American Eagle leather bracelets. This dumb little baby cares about movies. Sometimes I think back to the movies we watched during the 2000s, and I'm a little baffled that some of them even got made. And so, my good friend Matt and I meticulously scrolled through the film releases from 2000 to 2009 to try and answer the following questions. What kinds of movies were being made in the 2000s that don't get made today? How is the decade different from any others? And what does that say about this era of film? Pop your favorite Creed single into your Walkman and take a stroll down to the nearest Blockbuster, because we're looking at movie trends of the 2000s. Hope your rental fees are paid. In a lot of ways, an average week at the movies was really different during the 2000s. For example, the 2000s were probably the last era when a popular leading actor could send a movie to the top of the highest grossing list. When I was a kid, Ashton Kutcher was basically a genre of movie in and of itself. Or Tom Cruise. People would just show up to the theater like, yeah, it's the new Tom Cruise movie. I wonder what he's gonna run from this time. Nowadays, Tom Cruise alone doesn't sell a movie. It's the franchise that he's attached to. That's not to say that there wasn't a certain amount of franchise dominance during the 2000s. In fact, this is the decade where the franchise focus started. But still, this whole franchise approach wasn't boiled down to a formula yet. It was a really big risk to bank on any movie getting a sequel, let alone a series or spin-off. Lord of the Rings was a huge gamble that paid off. Same with Harry Potter. Big movie studios didn't anticipate a massive multi-level franchise the way they do now. Nonetheless, though, sequels and franchises were more frequently raking in the big bucks. But old habits die hard, and so a lot of original standalone movies were made, and a massive chunk of them tried to bank on the perceived trends of the 2000s. So besides that slow creeping franchise dominance, what else were the trends? Well, of course, certain trends from the 90s carried over to the 2000s. The first one of these I like to think of as the sexy vampire trend. I'm gonna go ahead and blame 1994's Interview with a Vampire for the popularity and staying power of this trend. Later on in the 90s,
Hey, I never watched it, but I did watch Twilight. Twilight is elite. I don't know what really happened. Okay, because this is actually what happened. I don't know. It was whenever the solar eclipse was, whenever that happened, that's when I started watching. I was like, there was really nothing to watch on YouTube. And then I just seen it. Because, YouTube be playing free with ad movies. And then I'm like, might just watch this real quick. It was great. I didn't really watch all of it. But the first movie, excellent. I don't know what crack they put in there. That was excellent. Now the second one, I did watch the second one. Like halfway though. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. But yeah, that was it.
90s, we saw Blade, a franchise that reshaped the vampire genre and squeezed it into tight leather. Throughout the 2000s, we saw lots of movies trying to recapture this vibe.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
There was Van Helsing, Dracula 2000, and of course Twilight. These were all centered around being a modern take on one of the horror genre's oldest villains, but instead of being wholly terrifying, they're kind of tempting. The strongest of these sexy vampire movies has to be Underworld. Okay, maybe not the strongest, but how do I say?
Okay, now do y'all believe in this conspiracy, right? Now, you do realize that everything is real, right? Whether you believe it or not, mermaids are real. Sirens, kind of like the same thing. Giants are real. or were, you know, we don't really know what's hiding, especially in that ocean too. If you tell me, because the world is a big, beautiful place, well, it can be a pretty dark place too. Whether you in jail or you know you down, you currently down somewhere mentally, but overall, it's a pretty good place. You age, you find yourself, you know what you want to become, and you go ahead and do it. Right now, like I said, with that 5% ocean, we don't know what's in there. We don't know. Why did NASA stop? And these are just the thoughts that you can just say. These need to be answered. They do.
Say,
They
most
do.
appealing to me as a little boy. There were 5 of these movies. 5. Wait, 5? I've got some catching up to do. We owned the first 3 of them on DVD when I was a kid. How could anyone grow up during the 2000s and not end up loving leather and latex? It was everywhere. Superheroes were covered in leather. Trinity was covered in latex. Even Velma wore a shiny faux leather outfit.
She bad too.
It was a thing, and I'm not entirely against this trend coming back. 2000's
Oh.
Coyote Ugly is credited with popularizing the trend of leather pants, but I think a huge amount of credit should also be given to the genre of sexy vampire movies for really showing us how to strut around in shiny pants. Despite Hollywood's best efforts, this genre was finally dead by the mid-2010s, probably due to oversaturation. Another trend that started in the 90s but really gained steam in the 2000s was nostalgia for the 70s. This is a theme that we can see repeat throughout the 2000s and in many different genres. In the 90s, we saw Dazed and Confused, Boogie Nights, and television's That 70s Show. So by the 2000s, the 1970s nostalgia had reached a peak. There were a lot of remakes of 70s media, like Gone in 60 Seconds, The Longest Yard, Shaft, Charlie's Angels, and so on. This nostalgia might be partially responsible for the success of Tarantino's films during this era, which have always borrowed heavily from 70s exploitation movies. Aside from Tarantino's work, most of the 70s nostalgia movies from the 2000s are completely forgotten. Unlike a bulk of the 70s nostalgia movies that I just mentioned, 2000's Bring It On is largely well remembered by a lot of people today. Bring It On was a huge hit in the year 2000.
Hey, all of them was bad. All of them was bad. Now, this is what I thought the cheerleaders would look like in high school. Everybody did. They didn't look nowhere near that. All of them was bad. And they knew how to dance good. But hey, I don't know, I don't really see them making a Bring It On. It's 2024. I just leave that alone, please. But hey.
And as a result, it had a huge influence on this trend of cheerleading and dance competition movies.
Yep.
Never forget that Channing Tatum was at one point defined by his role in Step Up. There was also Man of the House in 2005, Fired Up in 2009, Sugar and Spice in 2001. Sugar and Spice was a little bit more unique with its story than Fired Up and Man of the House, but it's largely been forgotten. Step Up, on the other hand, had several sequels and influenced its own subgenre of sexy dance competition movies.
Never watched it.
Stomp the Yard, You Got Served, and even the sequel to Cinderella Story. Honestly, the best thing that came out of this cheer dance competition trend was that it gave us Channing Tatum. Other than that, this trend can stay in the 2000s. Here's a trend that I actually want to make a comeback, though. One of my mom's favorite movie genres that lived and died in the 2000s is the genre that I like to call beach movie. Like the label suggests, these are movies that take place predominantly on a beach.
On the beach, like Teen Beach Movie, or I don't know if it was just Teen Beach, but it was some baddies. I don't know, because they be surfing good. It's just the way because they just know how to ride the wave, really. They just do. Then they just be jogging slow mo on the beach too with that surfboard. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about though. But yeah, Teen Beach Movie was actually great. I watched the second one. But like if we talk about the original Teen Beach, like that was like made in like the 70s, that was still good too. And it was all about. Sure.
And most likely function as a vacation getaway for the cast and crew. Because hey, if you're going to get paid to make a movie, why not do it while housing pina coladas on the beach? The characteristics of a beach movie are Tropical settings,
See,
deep
just like
orange
that.
tans, blonde hair, and beach bods. This look was the epitome of style during the mid-2000s. So naturally, the beach movie genre capitalized on it. There was so damn many of these movies, and my parents had just about all of them on DVD. While they all take place on a beach, the narrative substance of a beach movie can vary. It can be a romance, a heist movie, a comedy, or a mix of all three. What an incredibly diverse genre for the most sophisticated cinema enjoyer. The ones I saw the most as a kid were Fool's Gold, Into the Blue, and After the Sunset. But there was also The Heartbreak Kid, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, 50 First Dates, The Beach, The Big Bounce, Surfer Dude, Blue Crush, Aquamarine, A Perfect Getaway, Couples Retreat, Dirty Dancing,
Speaking of
Havana.
Aquamarine, hey, I said this like plenty of times. I just need a baddie. Oh wait, yeah, I found a movie. I used to watch that when I was little. Couples Retreat. Let me write that down somewhere. Couples Retreat. I found the movie. I didn't watch that in like 15, 16 years. I ain't even gonna lie. Now, let me try to remember what I was just talking about. Hold on. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. H2O movies. H2O Mermaids. I just need a baddie. We can just watch H2O Mermaids together. I actually love that show. I don't know. It's just like the aesthetic and the scenery. Because you can tell that was made in the 2000s. You can tell. Right? All of them was bad. And then they just turned to a mermaids. Hey, I'm going to need to rewatch it again. All right, calm it down.
Havana Nights, and
Well,
so
I found my
many
movie. I
more.
found it.
I used to really resent this genre as a kid, but now that it isn't as popular, I kind of feel bad that my mom doesn't have as many more new beach movies to watch. Not that that stops her from constantly rewatching the ones I just mentioned. For the sake of my mom's entertainment, I hope that the mid to big budget beach movie makes a comeback soon. One day, Mom, I promise, I'll make the blondest, most orange-tanned beach movie just for you. What else? There was this trend of American martial arts movies during the 2000s, likely due to the popularity of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, as well as Jackie Chan's career move to the States. Come to think of it, The Matrix also probably brought Kung Fu to mass American audiences for the first time. I don't know what to make of this whole trend. I love Kung Fu, but some versions of American...
Me too now. You know, I was very mature. For every age I am, I was very mature. I was very mature at a young age. Still am to this day. I don't really know. You know, I really don't know where I got that from. But I'm just very thankful. Now, hey, when I was little, I used to love watching the because you know I really wasn't watching no kid stuff when I was little. I was watching like teen stuff, Teen Nick, A Thousand Ways to Die at like the age of 6, 7, Adult Swim, Family Guy, all that. I really didn't really watch no kid stuff. Now the thing with the kung fu and karate, hey, every time when they would play it, I would just keep copying their moves too. I was like, and then I had this G.I. Joe suit. The G.I. Joe suit, that white one, the ghost. Yep. And y'all was not touching me. And then I would just keep practicing on my pillow. Like just the kung fu moves. Doom. Headlock. Doom. Just like the Karate Kid, the original one with Mr. Miyagi. Yep. And that was it.
American Kung Fu are likely problematic, and I'm not the best person to dig into that. But let's face it, American Kung Fu is almost never as good as actual Kung Fu movies. The only benefit for me was that some of these martial arts movies eventually led me to explore the old Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest Kung Fu flicks from the 70s. Actually, maybe the American attempts at Kung Fu were also part of the wave of 70s nostalgia that I mentioned earlier. See? We're learning, I think. You know what's a great way to learn, according to 2000s movies? Swap bodies with that one person in your life who you just don't understand. Freaky Friday captures two of the biggest trends of this era. Baggy alt comfort clothing and Lindsay Lohan. And it's another remake of a movie from the 70s. It's kind of awesome that this project that began as a remake of something people from the 70s were nostalgic for is now this perfect storm of 2000s nostalgia. After Freaky Friday, there were a bunch of movies throughout this decade that tried to recapture its magic. The Hot Chick, 13 Going on 30, 17 Again, The Shaggy Dog, and even that one scene from Scooby-Doo. Can this trend please come back? Not the body swap.
Well,
I mean Linda Cardellini as Velma looking like a goddess sent from heaven. Actually, never mind. Let's not treat people like trends. There were a bunch of human beings, actors, who were treated as...
Hey. Oh. These just fell on the ground. Do y'all want some? No, I'm just playing. I'm not going to do my supports like that. But yeah, Britney Spears was bad. I think Britney Spears was the best. I think she had the best career. She did. Nobody was touching her. Nobody. Whatever y'all Swifties think Taylor Swift got, Britney Spears already been past that. Or Paris Hilton. One of them, but I think Britney Spears was bigger than Paris. Yep. And they made a movie about her with white chicks. Hey, y'all was not touching Britney or Paris. Y'all wasn't touching on them. And it was both bad. I don't know what they're doing now. I don't know. I pray that Britney mental is okay. And I don't really know about Paris. I don't really know what she's doing. But when they was younger,
time, and then immediately
20s,
disposed of once their misery stopped being profitable. Namely, people like Lindsay Lohan and Amanda Bynes. Hollywood tried to make Brendan Fraser like a himbo Harrison Ford, but he was quickly dropped by the public after a messy divorce and some movies that flopped. I don't know if I should even dig into this. My name's not D'Angelo, and this isn't a drama channel. I think this idea kind of ties back to what I said at the start about a famous actor being able to sell a movie more than a franchise or a director. I don't know. Free Britney. That shit's scary. Now, let's pivot to some fake scaries. I'm talking the horror trends of the 2000s. There were a lot of torture movies and found footage, just really trying to lean into that gritty aesthetic that was so popular.
Okay, now we talk about 2000s horror, right? It was great. I don't think, because look, the thing is, we don't really cherish nothing until it's going. Because in the moment of it happening, you don't realize the greatness, right? So it's like, 2000s movies. It's 20 years, 24 years later. These were great movies. Saw, Scream, Scary Movie. All these lit horrors. Now, I don't really know what they're doing. I guess 2020's horror is kind of exaggerated because, Terrifier. Hey, if y'all got a weak stomach, do not watch that. I don't. I'm happy I don't. But I feel like the 2020's horror is kind of exaggerate. Like, make it at least more scary instead of boring. Because I think that they trying too hard. See, I'm thinking in my psychological effect. Hold on. I think they're trying too hard. Because when you try too hard, then it's obvious. So the movie going to be pretty boring, right? The Nun was okay. The second one, no. They trying too hard. Like, just make the movie, get paid, make another one if it's good, get the fans, repeat the cycle, stop at the third one, boom. See, I just laid it out for y'all.
Popular on everything at the time. There were also a few horror movies in the 2000s that tried to tackle some of the fears of emerging tech advances. Just stuff that was like, what if your cell phone, but evil? Yeah, I know my cell phone is evil, but I needed to get a job and to take pictures of my parents' dog. Both are equally important. The whole what if tech bad genre hasn't really gone away, and probably never will. Another horror trend from this era was American remakes of Japanese horror movies. The only thing I really want to note here is The Ring, and specifically its colors. It's a great example of early digital color grading, for a couple of reasons. It looks gross and sickly, like a lot of early color jobs from this decade.
Yes, like I said, the aesthetic. If y'all focus more of the aesthetic and make it more natural, then that's when you bring in the fans. I'm trying to tell you what I'm talking about. Now, we all know they're going to act stupid, right? Because if it say on the tape, don't watch it. Why would you watch it? If it say left path is safe, right path you die, why would you go to the right one? I don't really get it. But, and then, always in the end, they always save the day, hooray, kill the villain. But, like I say, if y'all just make the movie more natural instead of just trying too hard, then I'm trying to tell you.
Look definitely suits the tone and mood of this movie. A lot of movies at this time tried to copy the look of The Matrix with the heavy greens and blues, but few of them actually got the memo that this look has to serve a purpose. You mean to tell me that visuals in a visual medium have to have a purpose? Well, color me tones of green and blue. The colors in The Ring and The Matrix serve their respective stories in different ways. Also, 2000's Oh Brother Where Art Thou uses digital color to make the movie feel like an old book with grimy, yellowed pages. The aesthetic is still really unique in how it suits the story. Unfortunately, there's a lot of early digital colors in movies from this era that just look super radioactive. I do think it's really cool to see the industry work their way through this new technology. And it makes me feel less bad for how fucked some of the colors look in my early experiments with color grading. The 2000s are just this fascinating, awkward period of movies in a lot of ways. Even the box office dominators weren't as calculated as they are now. Or they were calculated, but not with the same goal in mind. Early superhero movies from this era were definitely cashing in on a trend, but they didn't have this baked in.
Hey, we all know Spider-Man is the best superhero. Now, when I was a young nigga, I did think that Batman was, right? And we can all agree, right? There's no point in saying Superman. There's no point. Don't even put his name in your mouth. And I know that's what you was about to do. Iron Man, he not even in the question. I don't even who favorite superhero is Iron Man. Now you can say Wolverine, Hulk. I would even give Thor to you. Nobody's not picking Iron Man though. I'm sorry, Iron Man. I love your suits though, but you ain't touching Spider-Man, Venom, none of them. And I love Spider-Man. I did.
An
And I
assumption
am.
that they would spawn a dozen
Had
sequels
the
and
suit,
spin-offs.
had
There
the-
wasn't some massive plan with phases to it like a military operation. Affleck did not sign a 10-year contract to play Daredevil. It's cute to look back on, because I remember people saying that this genre was dying way back when X-Men Origins Wolverine came out. It didn't die. Some producers just learned to plan, likely heavily influenced by the miraculous success of the Harry Potter franchise. You can start to see an increasing amount of sequels and franchises creep up to the top of the box office records throughout this decade. So of course, Hollywood turned the franchise into an unstoppable formula by the 2010s. That's why we are where we are now, and that's probably why so many of these weird little trends from the 2000s have been completely eradicated. Studios don't need them to make money anymore. I guess what interests me so much about this decade, besides pure childhood nostalgia, is that it feels like such a massive pivot for the film industry. All the new tech, digital cameras, post-production innovations, and of course, the blooming vines of franchise dominance that we see before us today. There were so many creative people trying to redefine the art of filmmaking, to the point where those innovations kind of overshadow some of the strange and niche trends that didn't survive. Trends seem vapid in the moment when they're popular. But looking back, they paint a very clear picture of the cultural landscape at the time. I guess the point of this video is me trying to map out that landscape a little bit, based entirely on what I remember and what I miss. What about you? Are there any niche movie genres or trends from the 2000s that I didn't bring up? I know...
Schools. Did he bring up the schools, like the high schools? Like the high school themes, like the 90s show? Or Saved by the Bell. I used to love those. But hey, very good video, man. Ladies, wrap it up. Go ahead, give me a hug. Hey, my fellow niggas, hey, dab me up real quick. See y'all next time.